You are listening to Beyond the Verse, a Star Citizen podcast. A show dedicated to Cloud Imperium games, Star Citizen, and Squadron 42. Whether you fight, explore, unite, and/or trade, we bring you news, updates, interviews, reviews, and analysis. So sit back, relax, grab yourself a pour of Radagast, and join us as we go Beyond the Verse.
Launch sequence activated.
Hello, friends, and welcome to Beyond the Verse, Star Citizen podcast. I'm your host, Sulyce, and welcome into episode 106. We are wrapping up Invictus. It's over. It's done. So all the joys and all the excitement of Invictus ended about 2 or 3 days ago. So we'll conclude the Invictus events and we'll kind of lead into Alien Week, which is just like 2 or 3 weeks away. So the excitement doesn't have to die for too long. We are also going to be covering the latest of the Wave 2 patch in the P2 for 4.2. I feel like it's a bunch of numbers and acronyms, but we'll go through some lower hanging fruit, like the RSI Launcher 2.4 release, what it means to you, what you need to do in order to make it happen. The Squadron 42 May newsletter came out, so we're going to quickly discuss that. We did not go through the Anvil Asgard last episode because we recorded off cycle. We recorded early in the week. If you recall, I did it with Sole Provision because I was out of town that Thursday and Friday of last week. So we will be going through the Anvil Asgard to kind of wrap things up. We're going to watch the behind the scenes episode for it. It's an amazing ship. I'll get into my reactions here in a little bit. And then we will end the episode with our final installment of the lore deep dive of Invictus. So yes, a little bit after the fact, but we're going to wrap everything up with Ivar Messer. So this is going to be kind of a fun, potentially like laid back episode because there's not a lot happening this week. It was the Memorial Day holiday on Monday. I feel like CIG probably had that day off, as they should have, because this weekend Star Citizen article didn't come out until Tuesday. So it was a shorter week, not a lot happening, but there's a lot happening on the personal side and actually business side of Beyond the Verse, which I can't wait to get into with you. So again, I hope this finds you well wherever it meets you. I always say this, but whether you're in the gym working out, driving to work, traveling, I hope this comes as a nice welcome to your week, something to look forward to. So yeah, let's get into some of the fun here. It's been a crazy, hectic last couple of days, all positive. So I kind of alluded to it. Me and Supervision recorded, it was like Tuesday or Wednesday of last week. It was a couple of days prior to Thursday night's org night and Friday morning's usual podcast recording, because my kids graduated school, and it's our annual tradition to take our kids to the Kalahari Resort, which we're blessed enough to have like 5 minutes away from the house. So that's super awesome. But we take them and we get them bunk beds and have them stay overnight, and it's a water park and a ropes course and arcade. It's all the things, right? It's a lot of fun. But just on a personal note, because I like adding personal flair, I cannot be more proud of my kiddos. My daughter went from kindergarten to first grade, so not a huge advancement. It's, she's now in grade school, which is crazy to think about my daughter going into grade school. But my son is actually it's really phenomenal story. He struggled. He struggled in third grade. It's arguably one of the hardest transitions for kids, from second grade to third grade, because you go from learning to read to then in third grade, you read to learn. So it's a complete switch, in that brain of theirs as they develop. And so he struggled a lot through third grade. A lot of parent-teacher meetings, which is never fun. It's never, puts like a dramatic twist, between me and my wife, and like, what are we going to do? How do we handle things? But the dude persevered. And I know those of you listening probably could care less. But for me, it was huge. Nothing else or everything else pales in comparison, to when you see your son graduate through a lot of adversity. So that was awesome. Cannot tell you how amazing it was, this past weekend to celebrate that. Obviously, Memorial Day was on Monday. Y'all heard my introduction. I got a lot of good feedback from the introduction to the last podcast. So thanks for listening. Thanks for your feedback. Always a very hard, it's always a very hard conversation, for me. Yeah, I'm not going to get into it. It's not this podcast. So whatever you did, whether you cooked and were with friends and family, I hope you had a blessed Memorial Day. Invictus Launch Week was hot and heavy throughout the entire weekend. They didn't skip a beat. They were releasing the Asgard. They were, what was the other? The Guardian MX was I think the day of our recording. The Misk tax, the Misk Starlancer TAC and the Mirai Guardian MX were kind of the same day. So the Asgard didn't come out until later. So they launched that. It was a lot of fun. But before I move too far, I want to address last night's org night. And then we'll get into the hot and heavy of this episode. It is easy for me as a content creator, and any content creator, it is easy for us to sit in front of you and say, our org is the best. Right? You're going to hear that, and as you should. Everybody's proud of their org. I absolutely love my organization, and it's the people who make it, not what I've built. Whatever, we can talk about, the pride and everything I feel from creating this from the ground up. That's fine. But fast forward to today, it's not about what I've created. It's about the people that make it. And we just have, I'm trying to think of the best analogy. It's a family. There's a reason why I call it the Star Citizen fam. It's a family, and it feels like one. The personalities are robust, it's funny, I keep saying cheeky, very cheeky personalities, very eccentric. It's never a dull moment in the 2 hours or more that we play together. But it's really starting to find its groove. It's really starting to kick off in the direction that I've always wanted it to. So every Thursday night we have an org night, but that's 6 other nights that we don't necessarily have a plan for yet because there's not a lot of released content in the game. We can argue that, right? But at the end of the day, right now we've got maybe the Hathor mining missions, even that kind of died off. So we've got Hunt the Polaris and, all of the scenarios, the gauntlet scenarios and the flight schools. And there is a lot to do, but organized, 20 to 30 individuals, massive raid events or org events. There's not that many that we can do. So we have a Thursday night. Moving forward, it's going to be called Thirsty Thursdays. We're going to have a theme for every single night. And I love my monikers, but for me, but Thursdays is going to be Thirsty Thursdays. It's going to be our social night. It's going to be our awesome gathering. But I don't know. Last night we had the most individuals ever in Soul Provision show up, and it was 35. So we capped out last night at 35. And I think I was reminded, not I needed to be reminded, because I make a podcast on this damn game. I'm pretty sure I'm aware of the awesomeness that is Star Citizen. But I'm reminded last night of just how amazing this game is. 35 of us got together. We fully manned an Idris. We fully manned a Polaris and had 7 to 8 QRF vehicles flying security. And we did 2 Hunt the Polaris missions, and we did 2 Gauntlet Scenario 8 missions. All 4 of those missions were successful. Not a single glitch, well, except for one. I'll tell you that in a second. But when the mission actually got started, not a single issue. It was so much fun. Being the captain, I was in the captain's seat of the Idris. I was able to F4 into that third person view and have a full spectrum view of the battles. It was just something incredible to experience. And then at some point I got up and went down to a turret and started firing because there's only so much you can do sitting down on your ass and watching everybody else play. But, again, it was a reminder that 35 of us came together in a game that has no load screens, persistent entity streaming, all the sexy tech phrases that I could say. We started in Orison. We got on the Idris. The Polaris was staffed there as well. We took off. Gorgeous experience. QRF was first on scene. They started engaging with the targets. Polaris was next on the scene. So just great synergy between the two large elements. And then we finally, on the Idris, showed up like towards the very end of the battle because there's a landing gear issue. So this might be the last time that we stage an Idris in atmosphere because we could not get the landing gear up. We tried everything, guys. We tried cycling the power off, switching pilots. I mean, you name it. I guarantee you we tried it. So we ended up going from Orison out of atmosphere with our landing gear down. So you can imagine 10 minutes. I don't think that's exaggerating. I think it was like 10 or 15 minutes trying to get out of atmosphere. And once we finally were, the moment you start QTing, the landing gear can come up. So that was frustrating. But the rest of the night, absolutely incredible. We have amazing screenshots that I would love for everybody in Soul Provision to upload onto X, and then the Soul Provision social media account will retweet. I mean, heck, I'll retweet it on BTV as well. But some of those images are just incredible. Easily going to be retweeted by Star Citizen or CIG. So I just wanted to highlight that. Like, I know other orgs are doing many different things and other orgs are very proud, but I'm just taking a couple minutes to express my gratitude and true appreciation for what we have created in Soul Provision. Absolutely incredible. If you want to have a home or a place to call home that feels like family, that has the jabbing of a close family, because those will happen, this could be a place for you. So I just want to encourage you to find a home. If it's not us, find a home. Groups make Star Citizen better. Okay. Just an amazing night. Okay. All right, here we go. We have some fun things to get through. We have a giveaway. We have a giveaway to get through. The Asgard plus Nova tank that was given to us by CIG. One of the best giveaways that we've been given up to this point. I'm actually going to strategically take that giveaway and put it right in the middle of the episode, or maybe towards the end of the episode, whenever we discuss the Anvil Asgard. We're going to watch the behind the scenes and talk about the Q&A, etc., my reactions to it. And right around there, we will throw in the winner of that giveaway. So, all right, let's make this happen, guys.
Incoming message.
All right, at the end of episode 105, we asked you the question, what's been the most impactful addition to Invictus Launch Week 2955 so far? Let me share my screen for all of you on video. And again, this is over on Spotify, so if you want to be engaged in the polls or comment section, this is what we read. We read emails that are sent to contact@beyondtheversehq.com, and we read the poll responses and comments. So here we go. I think this one's pretty easy, but I think it's also debatable too. So the most impactful addition, the Idris release, came in at 81.3%. Okay, obviously. I'll respond to that in just a second. Behind that was a 12.5% vehicle modifications, 6.3% Grey Cat MTC, and none of you gave two shits about the Guardian MX or the Starlancer attack. I asked that question on purpose. So yes, guys, the Idris and all it means and the work it took to get it launched and the years and years of development. Yes, the Idris is a very prominent release. Is it the most impactful though? And I think the way I thought about this is it's just a larger Polaris. Now don't freaking kill me, or a larger Hammerhead. Don't kill me, guys. CIG, if you're listening, don't start hating me and unfollow me. I love the Idris, and I think it's been an amazing addition. You know how I feel if you've listened to some of these podcasts. But it's just, at the end of the day, I think if you're looking at very black and white, no emotions attached to the game, the Idris is just a larger Hammerhead. It's a combat ship. It's got more rooms, more weapon systems. What it means for like, an MMO and persistent entity streaming and things persisting, like, yeah, I understand the tech impact as well. But as far as really moving the needle, like we could put 35 people on the Hammerhead at this current moment before the Idris. We had the Polaris release, which is I think the closest thing, obviously, to the Idris. So we had all these other, large ships. This is just another large ship. So not a trick question, but kind of more like I wanted y'all to be thinking that like maybe it's not about the ships. Maybe it is about the vehicle modifications and where the game could be headed. Now, I'm not rehashing that conversation. I'm not. Whether you're for flight blades or against flight blades or AI blades, like we've already had that discussion. But I think if you consider the implications, the first time to impact your vehicle's behavior with monetary, like real monetary funds, that came out. And I think that actually has more impact on the future of the game than the Idris. It implies, or it implicates. Is that a word? Implicates? It implies that there will be more ways than just changing out your components to impact or influence the way you play this game, whether it's still with real money down the road or not. So I personally would have chosen vehicle modifications. The others are just ships, right? And you're going to have mini ships, and the Idris is like the new sparkly toy that everybody wants to play with at the playground. But then the moment the Kraken comes out, the Perseus is going to come out here in a few months. When the Perseus comes out, like the buzz around the Idris is going to go away. Not that it's any less important, but you'll always have this like next stage of ships. And so I just thought that was an interesting way of looking at that question. I would have chosen vehicle mods because of the impact on the future of the game. But of course, the Idris was the best thing of Invictus Launch Week by far. By far. All right, let's go to the comments section. We have 8 to get through. Some funny ones. This is gonna be kind of fun. So here we go. Sharing my screen. Admiral Zeke, quote, "I was absolutely hoping for the Ironclad this Invictus. Womp womp." I know it's not Drake Day yet, but I still have hope. Unrelated, I can't wait to live in the Idris's walls once engineering is in the verse. Safe travels to all in the beautiful voidscapes of Star Citizen in the age of the Idris Elba. Ironclad, yeah. I don't know. I approached this Invictus Launch Week with like no surprises. Like CIG was, other than the Idris, CIG was very upfront about here are your new ships. So much so that their convention hall in game, right? The Bevic Center Convention. Bevic Convention Center. There you go. Bevic Convention Center. Wow. It had just the new ships in the front, the entire event. So they were very clear. The Asgard was always on display since day one, before it even released. So I felt that if the Ironclad was going to be released, there you go. It would have been in the front. It would have been in that room with everybody else. So I didn't think, once Invictus Launch Week launched, I did not think the Ironclad was possible. So I know there's a lot of you out there that want the Caterpillar ×3 ship called the Ironclad. But unfortunately, it is not out. I actually don't know when to expect it. I've been looking closely at the notes. It could still be, maybe IAE in November. It could be at the end of this year, but I would suspect more than likely next year. If I were to put a date on it, given the notes and kind of where it's at in production. All right, Corrupted Data. Here we go. Love the idea of team ground-based missions from Groza. Also can't wait to get a Grey Cat MTC in game. The conversation got me thinking about my wish list for Star Citizen, so I figured I would share a few. All right. Better medical gameplay, squad radios, stealth, fast ropes, parachutes, jetpack. Limited, nothing too crazy. I actually agree with that. NPC snipers and rocket gunners, and then love this episode. All right. Well, thanks. I love the episode too. Having Soul Provision on, even without our beloved Marauder, was still an amazing, it always is an amazing conversation. Yeah, I was going to talk about the Grey Cat MTC, but I think we already did that. Last episode, we talked about the Grey Cat MTC. It's actually a phenomenal ground vehicle. It's a solo ground vehicle. You could put a second body in the back to man the turret, but for the most part, it's like a up armored Jeep. Is the way I have always described it. I actually like it. I like putting it in my Asgard as like a quick vehicle to get to, like, from the landing zone to the objective. But let's go through your list. I actually really like this list. So the better medical gameplay. I 100% agree with you. So I immediately think of the Idris. When you're walking around the Idris and you go to the medical bay, just that whole potential. You got the little main office for your medical officer, I'm assuming. You got that one little desk inside that closed off space. The RP is strong, but like, what's the future of that space? I don't know. Like, well, what does that look like? But in each one of those rooms, you've got a tier 3 room and you have a tier 1 room. You have a tier 1 single bed, which will heal any and everything. Then you've got a recovery room of tier 3 beds. I think it's like four beds, but that also has a little desk inside of it. So you've got these desks for officers, and I don't know if it's just role playing, but what does that medical gameplay look like from an org capital ship perspective? And I'm sure corrupted data is more leaning into, like, what does that look like in game, like outside your capital ships, like the FPS medical gameplay. It's already robust in my opinion. Like, being able to take a paramedical device, those white guns, and being able to like evaluate and scan your targets and see, like, oh, it's the leg that's broken and here's how we heal the leg. I think it's already pretty complex in a good way. But where is it going? I think that's a great question. Where are the medical uniforms, right? We've seen a lot of videos since last year. We've seen a lot of videos of medical uniforms. Is there going to be that kind of gear out there? We already know it will be. We've already heard from CitizenCon that there's going to be gear sets that are specialized. We know this. But like, where are they? And what does that mean for medical gameplay? Just craziness. Squad radios, yeah, communication needs to be improved. We talk about that through nausea. So 100% agreement. What does proximity chat look like in the future of this game? How does it incorporate or integrate with Discord or TeamSpeak? There's a lot of questions I have about communication in this game. We've got to figure it out. Stealth, I want it to matter. I absolutely want it to matter. I want it to matter, like, what's that game called? Like the Tom Clancy games, like not Splinter Cell is like maybe too much stealth. I don't want it to go that far or that deep, but maybe Ghost Recon Breakpoint. Maybe that kind of stealth where it matters, being in the shadows, and I think they're kind of playing into it. So the new assault objectives in space, you've got to get into that cloud to mask your signatures. They're kind of already playing into that, so maybe make that attribute the case for shadows when you're in FPS. So you're walking around and you get into a shadow and it does kind of the same thing. It blocks your image with the NPCs and enemies. And again, it matters. You can walk up behind somebody and stab and, remain stealthed. But I agree. I want it to actually be part of a loop. The fast ropes, yes, we talk drop ships a lot on this podcast. We have a lot of drop ships now. The Ironclad Assault is going to be an amazing drop ship. So throw in fast ropes and how to get out of those. I'm thinking like my Blackhawk days of fast roping out of a Blackhawk. Yeah, super awesome, super sexy. Parachutes, jetpacks. Yep, they already have jetpacks, sort of. If you look at the Atlases, I don't know. I think it needs some refining. It's a little bit crazy. You can do a lot of crazy things with those jetpacks, and that might be a little bit too much. Maybe not for the Atlas, because that kind of makes sense. You're in this like machine that's doing the jetpack. But if you're going to throw jetpacks onto a backpack, it needs to be somewhat limited. Like, we don't need to get crazy with this. It doesn't need to be Boba Fett from Star Wars, right? We don't need to be flying around with a jetpack on, but something to help us get from like maybe the bottom floor of a building to the third or fourth floor of a building. That's not too crazy to think about 930 years from now. All right, NPC snipers and rocket gunners. Again, loved it. Cyrus quote says, "Love the intro. Thank you so much. Meant a lot to me and those obviously who heard it." Anna writes, "I upgrade my ship to the Andromeda, so should have gotten a free Merlin, and for some reason it doesn't spawn in the docking area. Help." I actually did research on this. I can't help you. I have no idea. it's unfortunately it's rare when it is happening. That doesn't make you feel better, and I'm really sorry about that. I'm not trying to be a jerk. But it's rare when it does happen, but I would try maybe calling it from a different location, maybe. Maybe going out and self-destructing it so it does kind of a hard reset on it. So maybe fly it. I mean, this is personally what I would do if I'm calling it in Orison. I might take it and fly it to like Seraphim Station, blow it up outside of the Armistice, obviously. Blow it up so you don't have dunnage in your hangar, and then maybe call it from Seraphim Station, or maybe even go to like Crew L1 and call it from Crew L1. It could be a problem with your primary residence, maybe, but you should have that Merlin. You should have that getaway vehicle in the back of your Andromeda. Should. All right. Floof Knight writes, "I think the blades aren't bad on their own, just the way they were rolled out." I agree 100%. In my opinion, they could have given them to people with the ships already and then had them as additional options when you pledge for the ship. Again, we're not going to hash out flight blades, but I do think that is the crux of the issue. Is just it was rolled out where it looked like a money grab. But again, I side with Groza from last episode. Free will, buddy. Like, spend your money however you want to spend. If you want to spend $35 to get that hammerhead to go just a little bit faster, cool. Spend that $35. I don't know. I don't think it really impacts the game that incrementally. Dreamer of Days. I suspect the heart of the issue with flight blades is the dangerous precedent they set. Paying for stat changes just because these changes are, quote, insignificant doesn't mean that the future ones won't be the meta. If you pardon the metaphor, the devil works slowly and seductively, making small changes that are alluring until the worst case is acceptable. Now, if CIG treats blades as craftable, then the real money ones should be an inferior tier to those players that can make or get from rewards. I am in full agreement. Here's how I view the future of monetary or monetization of games. Like, it should be cosmetic. And I know that's probably going to upset some of you, but I feel like it should just be cosmetic. If I spend $35, it better be a very sexy set of gear, like a color of gear, livery for a ship. Like, it should be cosmetic. They should stay away from being able to influence or impact a game with real life money. Again, my own personal feelings. Things that are craftable in game, like what's a good example? Crafting in World of Warcraft became like super important several patches ago, several expansions ago. But you would have to go through a raid, like a 25-man heroic raid, in order to get certain materials that would create a longer and stronger buff for you or the party. And so if you're a crafter and you specialize in, I don't know, alchemy or whatever, or I don't know, I forgot what all the terms were for WoW, but you'd go into the raids and that's how you would get your bread and butter. Literally your ingredients, right? Like, that's how you would get the most epic ingredients. Now, that's not to say that if you don't have time or the skill set to go into that, you just never will be able to craft. So there's other levels and tiers and echelons, good Lord, tiers of crafting that maybe you don't get to make that really awesome, ingredient, but you can get pretty close if you use in-game currency. So, but even then, that's in-game currency. Maybe less effort for less of a reward. But we're talking about, okay, I work for a Fortune 500 company. Money is not an issue to me. I'm just going to buy the ingredients with real money to make that raid level food or recipe or whatever. That just doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel right. So I'm actually in agreement with Dreamer of Days in this moment. It should be it should be less impactful if you're going to allow money. Like basically insignificant is what you wrote, and that's what I agree with. That $35 for the hammerhead should increase the hammerhead speed by, I don't know, 5%. But if I'm able to craft and go through Hathor mining missions and destroy the Hunt for the Polaris and go through, contested zones to make a better flight blade for the hammerhead, and it goes 15% faster. I'm making those numbers up, by the way. Cool. I agree with that model. I think it's the right approach. All right, Dakota Riley, quote, I didn't get the Idris, but the Asgard has become my daily driver. I'm right there with you, buddy. Mustang may want me removed from leadership for this, but it's a worthwhile sacrifice. You all heard it yourselves. Mustang, one of our officers in Soul Provision, hates the Asgard. And I don't know why. It's a beautiful, amazing ship. But I agree with Dakota Riley. It is an amazing daily driver. Personally, I think it is very similar to the Corsair. So it's a very powerful in its front defenses or front offenses. A lot of the weapon systems are slave to the pilot. So in fact, most, if not, I think it's all but the bottom manned turret is slave to the pilot. So you get a lot of firepower from the pilot seat. It's all forward facing. So again, very solo minded. But you have that huge garage to fly with whatever the heck you want in the back. And again, we're going to talk about this towards the end of the episode. But the Corsair doesn't have that. It's got good firepower in the front, but the back garage doesn't have the ability to put a Nova tank on the back. And I have my own setup I'll talk about here in a second. I don't use the Nova tank, but my setup is freaking amazing, which you wouldn't be able to do with the Corsair. So I agree, Asgard is a good daily driver. Try it out. And then last but not least, Disowned to Groza. Excuse me. To Groza, it's Idris, not Idris, in my opinion. Laughy face. Also, I was hoping I would be able to make the trek out to Austin for CitizenCon this year, but the day prior on October 10th is my anniversary. I'll be with you all in spirit, though. I cannot read today. That's not good for a podcast. Also go Asgard. So October 11th, again, we're trying to plan something in Austin, Texas with Texas Bar Citizens and Paul Shelley or the Astropubs community with our community. So I think we're going to have a lot of fun, whatever happens on October 11th. It sucks, man. I was looking forward to meeting you and everybody else in Soul Provision, but I think your anniversary takes priority. I don't know. I could be crazy, but I'm still married. So I'm doing something right. So maybe that's the right answer, but your anniversary on October 10th should take priority. So enjoy that. And there you go, guys. There you go. Comment section is done. Let's get into this week in Star Citizen. Excuse me. All right, so this week in Star Citizen, sharing my screen. Happy Monday, everyone. And again, this is a very, very light week. Think about Memorial Day and wrapping up and ending Invictus Launch Week, so there's not a lot to discuss. But let's read through it and we'll go from there. There's still time to swing by the Bevet Convention Center and take a few ships for a spin before Invictus Launch Week draws to a close. Whether you're jumping in for the first time or taking another lap, now's the perfect moment to enjoy the free fly and test some of the Verse's best military-inspired ships before it ends on May 27th. So this podcast is being recorded on Friday the 30th, so it's been over for a few days now. We've also really enjoyed seeing you share your experiences at the big event on the Community Hub, so keep those coming. After Invictus Launch Week wraps up, we'll begin rolling out ship naming waves for the Aegis Idris. Starting with the original concept owners and golden ticket holders. If that's you, you can find the details in this Spectrum post. More waves will follow soon after. Meanwhile, work continues on Alpha 4.2 with our teams iterating on early feedback from Evocati. This update will include dynamic rain, improved kiosk interactions, new hairstyles, and more. And we're aiming to open up for broader testing soon. Lastly, the Bar Citizen World Tour continues. This Saturday, May 31st, we visit the heart of one of Europe's most vibrant cities, France. Lyon, France. If you're in the area, come meet the team, raise a glass, and celebrate all things Star Citizen with fellow enthusiasts. Check out our World Tour com link for more details on this event and other upcoming ones. All right, let's go to the bullet list. It is short and sweet. So Tuesday, we had the Squadron 42 newsletter. We also had the Invictus Launch Week finale. Finale. Good Lord. Article. And then later today, we'll get the RSI Weekly newsletter. Nothing really exciting to see here. So they deserve time off. This has been a crazy Invictus Launch Week. So congratulations to CIG. We'll get into the performance of Invictus Launch Week here in a second, but an amazing marketing event. They pulled in over $20 million. They increased, their accounts by a significant amount as well. I'll show you everything, but a very successful event and a very fun event for us. But I do have a critique that I will share in a couple seconds. All right. Wave 2 in the PTU. Let's get through some low-hanging fruit news. So if you are in the PTU and you're part of Wave 2, Wave 1 or Wave 2, you have access to get in and have at it with 4.2. It is an incredible patch, and I've been saying that all year long. I think they're aiming for 11 patches this year, and they've already gotten through a significant amount of that. But this is going to bring a lot of maybe cosmetic changes to the verse, whereas 4.1 is very content heavy with a bunch of new mission types. This is more cosmetic. So we've got rain, and the rain is beautiful. It is incredibly beautiful. I'm already seeing screenshots across social media that look absolutely amazing and also terrifying, depending on which planet you're on and what kind of storm is blowing in. But just, you already know at scale just how big this game is, right? So just go through your memory, go through what you've seen about these massive planets and having the whole planet to yourself, essentially. But now add in being able to see a storm blowing in. You see it off in the distance. Everything starts getting dark. Your time is limited on the objective. You got to get up and get out. Before you know it, thunder, lightning, pure chaos is happening around you. Oh, and the game is happening. So FPS combat, ship combat, through a rainstorm, that is going to be the best. It's going to be the patch of the rain patch. Huge. But let's go through what's being tested, right? So stability and bug fixes, yes, please, thank you. There's probably a reason it's number 1 on this list, because that's the theme for 2025 or 2955. So stability and bug fixes, perfect. The Stormbreaker phases 1 and 2, that is an event, which I don't know. I guess I could get into, but I'm going to save it for a later podcast. I've been able to get into some of that and enjoy it, so I'll again address that at a later podcast. The dynamic rain, absolutely incredible. Can't wait to share that with you. Can't wait for y'all to experience it. We've got radiation, Volt Laser Prism Shotgun, the Argo Atlas IKTI and the IKTI Geo. These are your combat variants of your Argo Atlas. New Wicklow ship additions, new hairstyles. Yet again, this is the third, maybe fourth. I think it's the third update to hairstyles. So even more choices in the verse to look and feel however you want to feel and look in this Sterling Exploration suit. Known issues, features and gameplay, blah, blah, blah. This is, I guess, interesting to call out for ships and vehicles. The reduced the Anvil Asgard and Valkyrie cross-section emissions. So yeah, making it not harder, but making it more aligned with the rest of holes in the game. So right now it's crazy. Looking at the Anvil Asgard or Valkyrie, their cross section emissions is it's astronomical. Sorry for the pun, but large, huge. So they're reducing it, making it more relevant respective to other ships. So, yeah. Again, a cosmetic patch. There are events coming out with it, but not like 4.1. I think it's going to be welcomed. That rain is going to be something else. I can't wait to experience that. Okay. RSI Launcher 2.4. Now, I went into this with a preconceived notion, and my experience was something different. So, in this article, you can come to this article and click on the install launcher setup 2.4. It's an executable file. So click on that, download it. That's one way of doing it. That's how you had to do it in the past. And so when this first came out, my tweet or my social media post was, hey, don't forget this takes your action. You need to come in and click on this, download it to have the latest and greatest launcher. However, I was proven wrong. I opened up the launcher like 2.3.2, I think was the last one. I opened it up and it prompted me there. It prompted me there to upgrade the launcher so I could click on yes, and it did it for me. So I think the days, I was hoping it was maybe mentioned in here. I think the days of us having to come to this and be proactive and click on it ahead of time is over. Again, my experience was I opened up the older launcher and it prompted me to download it. But new features, right? I don't know. It's less newsworthy, I think, but this used to take precedent on my podcasts because it did require action from y'all. So make sure this happens. If it doesn't prompt you automatically, come here to actually do it yourself. Okay. Very cool. All right. The Squadron 42 newsletter did hit. Make sure y'all go into your settings, your RSI settings on the website, go down to your subscriptions. Make sure you have your Squadron 42 subscriptions turned on, and it'll make sense here in a second. Excuse me. Sharing my screen. So there's some cool updates here. We're going to get through all these updates, but the one thing I wanted to call out is this souvenir coin. All right. When this article first came out, this was missing. It was missing for me on Google Chrome and on Firefox. So I tried other browsers. I tried logging out, logging back in, but this was missing for me. So all that was here was the souvenir coin and this little thing. This is like a coveted memento. This year's Invictus Launch Week is the UEEN commissioned coin. This small free token represents our gratitude for the Navy's safe return to Stanton and to you for your unyielding support of our crew, pilots, and officers. So I was like, okay, how do I get this? How do I get the free token? Well, I got this through my email. So because I was subscribed, like I was just describing it to you, I was able to go to my emails, find the link, and that's how I was able to put it in my hanger. Now it's here, so I think it's maybe more irrelevant. But if you come here, add to the cart, it's free, obviously $0 USD, United States dollars. Click on add to cart, it gets into your hanger, but it's just like any other coin you've maybe gotten in the past. But this does require action. You need to come do this. So if you want this coin added to your hanger, you've got to come to this article. Again, that is in Comlink called the Squadron 42 May newsletter. Scroll to the bottom, add to cart, check out. So make sure you do this or you're not going to get the Invictus Launch Week coin. All right, to the top of the article, let's go through this. Behind the badge, although much is known of the accolades of our proud 42nd Squadron, inside intel of these history-making achievements has been for military eyes only. Until now. The 42nd Squadron made their mark during the Battle for Centauri, a standoff which ultimately concluded the Second Tavaran War, when, under the leadership of Captain Alexandra Dunleavy, they feigned retreat in order to form an ambush of the Tavaran fleet. This tactical maneuver undoubtedly led to the UEEN's victory and is still studied by new recruits and military personnel to this day. Join us as Invictus 2955 comes to an end in celebrating not only our serving fleet, but also commemorating the ship's crew and lives of some of the UEEN's finest, the 42nd Squadron. So here's the ships of the 42nd Squadron. Everybody loved this Hornet F7X, not F7 Alpha, none of the stuff that we can actually fly in the game, F8Cs. This is the F7X, which is a Squadron 42 only ship. And I think it looks awesome. The paint job is sick. So it's black and red, shocker, but it even has like gold highlights, right? So if you were to zoom in here, I am sharing my screen. Yes. Okay. Yeah. Zoom in here. It's kind of got this, man, it's kind of got everything. It's got this like black base, but then if you go up to the dorsal side of the ship, it's got this like blue camo, and the blue camo looks pretty awesome. And the wings are tipped in red. So I just think it's a really good looking ship. I would absolutely love flying this thing, which I'm pretty sure you'll be able to fly when it comes out next year. So the ship's the Squadron 42. What better time than the close of the Invictus to appreciate the spacecrafts that help serve and protect and decorate the 42nd Squadron? You've heard the names Gladius, Saber, Retaliator, F8, and F7X. Now it's time to look beyond the legends and into the lives of these warbirds with never before seen photographs of these heroes in action, downloadable as wallpapers for any device. These are pretty awesome ships. Go have at it. All right, there's a lore drop about the people of Squadron 42. This one's Phil Declan, UEES Krugery Pit Chief. According to many, Phil Declan didn't sign up for the Navy. He fell out of a ship engine onto the deck, grabbed a wrench, and got to work. Building off a career that sprawled over 30 years, Declan's worked on every fighter in the fleet to become a walking encyclopedia of parts, weapons, engines, and armor. As more and more mechanics turned to him for his expansive knowledge, he grew into a natural position of authority, eventually earning Chief Petty Officer and assuming the celebrated role of the Krugery Pit Chief. He may love nothing more than the thrum of a busy flight deck, but will always make time for his crew and flight officers alike to talk about the simple joys of flying. Immersive soundscapes. So there's this file that you can listen to for the sound of this. Looks like the Bengal carrier, but I think they're calling it something different. So close your eyes and step onto the bridge of the illustrious UEES Krugery. One of you is going to say Krugery. I don't know. I'm so done with names at this point. I say Krugery. Whatever. Whilst on board, the footage of all capital ships is prohibited for security purposes. The UEEN is excited to present a recording from aboard the Krugery flight deck. Bring the gravitas of Admiral Ernst Bishop, the bustle of his crew, and the electric atmosphere of a capital legend onto your ship and stir your imagination. And then the souvenir coin we have already discussed. So, well, that just happened. I clicked on listen here, and this is what's happening. So this is the Krugery file. We're going to listen for a couple of seconds. I'll make fast forward just to give you kind of a teaser of what's in it. But since this is a podcast, enjoy the next couple of seconds of sound. So it's almost like a hangar. Sounds like a hangar. Like there's people talking in my left ear. There's like ambience. I think this is just 6 minutes worth of ambience, which is fine. Yeah, which is fine. Okay, so I X'd out of that maybe too soon. That's fine. Let's just move on to the finale. Here is the Invictus Launch Week finale article. So we've got maybe two articles. We have this one and the actual farewell. This is not an article. It's just a landing page for the merchandise. So this farewell that happened a couple of days ago, I don't know why this merited a comms link. But here's your landing page if you wanted to get some last minute shopping in. But here's your finale that happened. Again, it was kind of a culmination. Everything that was flyable was still flyable, which had already been the case. So maybe it was just more of a reminder. Again, kind of a landing page of what to make sure you do before it ends. So what I wanted to do is take a second and instead talk about what I've been doing for the last several days. So if you follow me on socials, whether it's Blue Sky or whether it is, X, every single morning, to include when I was out of town, every single morning I kept track of the funding in the accounts just to kind of measure. And I've been doing this for a while now. I've been doing this, I think, for ever since 2023. So in a second, we'll also view Invictus Launch Week from last year and kind of, compare and contrast. But this is the performance. What you're seeing on your screen right now, this is the performance of Invictus Launch Week. I find this fascinating. It's also right up my alley. I love metrics. I love finances. So I love this. Maybe you as a listener or viewer could care less. But since we're all kind of backers of the game, you could call us investors in the game. I think this matters, right? So bringing your attention to the top left of the screen, that's our kind of admin box, right? The start of the event was May 15th. The end of the event was May 27th. That today shows today's date because it's a real time. It's actually an equation that just pulls in today's date. So it automatically calculates other fields. So it's saying the event day is 16. Of course, that's not accurate. This wasn't 16 days of an event. So it's more like focus on Charlie 2 and Charlie 3. So start of the event 5:15, end of the event 5:27. That Delta 2 and Echo 2, that is your starting funding. So on day 1, we started Invictus Launch Week at $810.3 million, which is already absurd, already crazy enough to think about. But $810.3 million with 5.6 million accounts. Now that's not unique players, though. One player can have 3 or 4 accounts. So it's not players. You can't say 5.6 million players, but 5.6 million accounts. And so those grew by $24.4 million in 70.7 thousand accounts. That's crazy. So you can say that Invictus Launch Week is a $24.4 million event. That's insane. That's absolutely insane. And so we show the day over day, like you can look at the numbers. I'm kind of looking at columns Golf through Oscar. You can look at the numbers and see the percentages or whatever, but new this year, I added bar graphs. And I think that's more of a visual, aesthetically pleasing way of showing the information. So if you look at the green bar graph in funding, you can kind of see like where events happened, right? So on the 15th, we had the Idris, right? We had the Idris launch. And of course, that is our number 1 day, right? So the 15th was the Idris. You could also say, was that Grey Cat? Yeah, the Grey Cat MTC, but of course that did not bring in the same amount of money as the Idris. So the Aegis Idris was the 15th. That is right here. That is the main cause, the biggest day of the event, day 1. And of course, you saw a massive drop off, right? Massive drop off. The next highest was the 23rd. That is Anvil Day. That would be your Anvil Asgard. But look how close, relatively close, guys. Like, look how close the Idris was, which is a limited hull ship, to the Asgard. Very, very, very close on daily performance. All right, our third best was the 25th. That's Drake, more than likely driven by Kraken, right? The Kraken and the Kraken Privateer, those limited hull ships, those went on sale. So that more than likely, again, was driven by Drake. I think you could also pick up the Ironclad Assault like concept. I think. I actually don't recall. But this is mainly driven by the Kraken. And then the 19th, which was your Consolidated Outlander, Misk and Mirai. This is your Misk Starlancer TAC, your Mirai Guardian MX. So basically the point that I'm trying to make is this is an event about new ships. You throw in new ships and you're going to start peaking in some of these numbers. So from a marketing perspective, it's not so much about the hoopla of getting, ships into a center. That's pretty flatlined, right? 16, 17, and it gets really low, 18 through 22. But these are days that nothing new happened, right? Invictus Launch Week is about new ships. So when I asked a couple weeks ago, like, what are we most excited about, that our excitement about new ships correlates with why they have the event. So I don't necessarily want to show you this to ruin the excitement of events. But like, this is a business, and I think we need to accept that CIG is a business. They're going to make business decisions. There's going to be marketing decisions, obviously. But like Alien Week coming up, like when someone says Alien Week, like what's the purpose of Alien Week? It's marketing, right? We talk about the WAR acronym, the win backs, acquisition, retention. There's always a reason, and I love diving into the reason for marketing events. So June 12th is First Contact Day, which that week of is Alien Week. Who knows? We might see something new ships, new concepts. No, we will not see the Banu Merchantman. I told myself I wouldn't say that name on this podcast, but there you have it. We will not be seeing those types of new ships, but maybe some of the reworks. We might see a rework, maybe. So Squadron 42, which is next year, is going to have the reworked alien ships. Why not go ahead and release some of those, right? A new version of the Blade, a new version of the Glaive, a new version of... I think the Santaki Eye is new enough. I don't think that's being reworked. But the alien combat ships, the Vandal, those should come out. In my opinion, those should come out. Why wait? So, all right. So I don't know. Hopefully you like that view. I personally love that view of looking at marketing events, the Bargrass finances, the accounts. I'm less interested about the accounts because, again, one person can have multiple accounts, but it's still growth. It's nice to see the player base growing regardless. The Anvil Asgard. All right, we're going to go through the Anvil Asgard. We're going to do the giveaway. I know I said middle of the podcast, but it's ending up being the end of the podcast. But we're going to go through the Anvil Asgard quickly, watch the behind the ships, quickly go through the Q&A. But let's start with my reactions. So, there's some debate on your daily driver. What does your daily driver need to have? For me personally, it needs to have a bed. So as much as I love the Guardian MX, it can't be my daily driver. So this, of course, has a bed, right? Okay, so now, the next question. Does it have a bed? Does it have a kitchen for the future food, considerations, a toilet for future hygiene considerations? This has all of that. But I think for me, it's the garage. So depending on what I'm feeling, like I know I'm about to do a lot of missions up in space that deal with the Foxwell, right? So like the gauntlets. What I'll do, I always have the Nursa inside of the Asgard. I'll throw that in the back because I have a spawn point and a medical bed. So that'll be in the back. But in the front, I'll put the Fury. Because what I'll do is I will quantum travel with the Asgard to location. And then, you always stop about 10 clicks? I think it's like 10 clicks out. And you don't actually start the mission. The moment you move forward after your quantum, then all of a sudden the audio starts and your mission starts. So I quantum travel to location. I don't move. I turn everything off. I get my Fury, and then I go to the objective. And I go, and I can outmaneuver. You can outmaneuver anything in a Fury. It's absolutely insane. And I do my mission. I take care of what I need to take care of. And then I go back to the Asgard. I park the Fury back into the Asgard. And then I travel to my next location. I have always said that I love the Fury, but without a quantum drive, it's irrelevant. Like I would hate to figure out like how to get from point A to point B without a quantum drive. Well, this solves for that for me. And you can't really do that in any other ship, at least not that I'm aware of. So this is my daily driver, and that's my daily setup at this current moment. Nursa kind of in the back of the garage, and then in the front, I throw the Fury. After that, if I know I'm going to be doing a lot of mercenary missions, I'll have the Nursa in the back, and then I'll throw the MTC in the front. Because again, I don't want to take the Nursa out. I want to keep the Nursa in a safe location, so if I die, my respawn point is on the Asgard, which is far from location. So I take the MTC, and then I go to the objective with an MTC. So I think those are awesome loops. I think that is a great setup. So the Asgard, for me, phenomenal. I've been doing a lot of the Foxwell Gauntlet missions, with the Asgard as well, like not even taking the Fury out, but just the Asgard, and I haven't had a single problem. The front firepower on this thing is incredible. Now compare it to a Corsair. I'm sure the Corsair will hold its weight, but you're still limited by its, I guess, cargo capability, right? Can you put, a Nursa and a Fury in the back of a Corsair? No, you can't, but you can in an Asgard. So you've had plenty of time to get in here and fly it. We are a little behind the game because our last podcast was 10 days ago. It aired 7 days ago, but we recorded it around 10 days ago. So you've had the experience here. I don't necessarily need to go into too much of this landing page other than I have tried this, I have tested it, and I love it. And there is a lot of people who do. There's some weird emotions out there that, well, it's not a Valkyrie. Cool. That's fine. That's fine. There's a use case for both ships, truly. Some people, will argue emotionally that it's not as good as the Corsair. Fine. I don't care. I don't like the asymmetrical aesthetics of the Corsair. That's it. It's not even that it's Drake. It's that it's asymmetrical. So I will take the Asgard any day, quite honestly. So with that, let's get into the behind the ships. I'm actually not even going to go through the Q&A. The Q&A is something if you are interested in, you can come in and learn more about the Asgard. No real shockers or, oh, hey, didn't think about that. Just if you want to learn more before you make your purchase, just know, as always, there's a Q&A session in here as well. But here is your behind the ships. I actually have not seen this, so we're going to watch this live together. We're going to do this, and then we're going to do our giveaway for the community for the Asgard plus Nova tank. So here we go. Making sure I'm sharing my screen. Let's get into this.
The Anvil Asgard is the Valkyrie on steroids. It's here to deliver larger vehicles than the Valkyrie is capable of, but without the troop deployment side of it. This is for the person with a Nova tank. It doesn't have a big enough garage.
I would say it's a beast with tons of weapons. It's ready for action combat.
I cannot imagine a ground vehicle that won't fit in the back of this ship, but I know where we work, so I think that's probably not a good idea to say. The big exterior changes are we've now got our missile rack on top of the ship.
It also looks more aggressive because all of its weapons now face forward. We've got 2 new wings on the top. They are now supporting engines instead of guns. We have new rear thrusters.
I have to say this. I made the comment that, a lot of people have made the comment of Asgard versus Valkyrie. And there's a lot of emotional response of they're not even the same ship. They're not even the same thing. Why are you comparing the two? They are the same whole family. It's the same whole family. You're hearing CIG say this. Have you put new wings on the sides? We moved the missile rack to the top of the ship. It is the same whole. It is a completely different ship. I tracking, but it is the same family. And so when you say variants, they are talking, CIG is talking about the Asgard as a variant of the Valkyrie. At the very beginning, they say that it is the Valkyrie on steroids. So I just this is what fuels how I talk about the Asgard Valkyrie. Is CIG talks about it in this way. They are very similar ships with very, very, very different use cases. So I don't know if you're picking up on that. Maybe you need to rewind and listen to it again. But the references between the two, it's not me. It's not the community. CIG is making those comparisons. They are the same, in our opinion. It is the same hull, just different variants of each other.
Help it propel itself. Now it's carrying a tank. I think one thing to notice is the underwing of the thing. It looks structurally sound. We really tried to make that extra wing that's now carrying an engine look like it can carry an engine.
We've also extended and thickened the rear ramp entrance. so that the bigger Nova can actually fit.
If you're dropping into a battlefield for like a beach landing or something, you just like shoot everything at once, clear the area to let the tank or whatever come out the back.
We also have a few cool paints. My personal preference is the copper paint.
From the outside, it's obviously impressive. You don't really like get the full scope of how big it is until you like enter through those front doors and you see the roof just super far above your head. The hangar interior, it's basically just like huge cavernous space. Like a very tall area. It's almost, I've heard it described as being church-like. The side walls repeat in a fashion that's similar to like a cathedral. And at the end of it is a window to habitation that draws your eye towards it.
We've cut the crew complement down from 4 to 2 because there's only a pilot and a turret gunner / engineer now. So we have a full bunk for the pilot and the gunner. We then have a little bathroom off to one side.
Really comfortable habitation, suit locker, decent weapon rack.
And a chow line, I think is what we call it still. It also has a slightly bigger cargo grid than the Valkyrie. This one gets up to 180, but that's floor to ceiling in the back there, so it can be a little unwieldy if you do fill it up all the way. It's kind of in that weird spot where it's a military ship with an enormous cargo hold, so it kind of gets the best of both worlds.
You can get your tank on the battlefield with ease.
Providing as much fire as it wants to. You've then closed that ramp, lifted back off, and got the hell out.
Boom. Love it. So there you go. I love everything about the ship. It's worth the money. Now it's expensive, but I think it's worth the money and absolutely worth being a part of Sole Provision for your chance to win the Asgard tank. Wow. The Asgard and Nova tank. So here we go. For this giveaway, it's arguably one of the best giveaways that CIG has given me to give away. As far as like dollar value, but it's the Asgard plus Nova tank, lifetime insurance. This one is a huge, plus a digital copy of the game, it's weirdly important. So I know people that have spent thousands and thousands on this game that don't have a digital copy of the game when it comes out in 1.0. Because you have to have a starter pack for that. So let's do this. Let's get into my screen share. I need to hide a column real quick because there's email addresses. So let me make sure nothing else gets docked here. Okay. Yep. All right. We're good here. All right. So this is the data pool. So again, this is just for the Sole Provision org. I decided to make this exclusive to those individuals that have supported me in the past and on the podcast, and of course have built our community into what it is, over 320 members. So this was an exclusive giveaway that I'm giving away to the community. So as always, I'm showing you how the soup is made, right? Everybody's in here who contributed. I know Groza, I know he won the screenshot contest from CIG, and so he got the Asgard free. So if Groza wins, feel free to take this and give it to somebody else. But I'm gonna keep you in because I think you deserve to stay in. So here we go. We had 57 entries, but there were 5 duplicates. I went ahead and removed those duplicates in column India. And column hotel is where I do my random calculation. So here we go. Let's do this. So rand, boom, there is your random number. Dropping that down for everybody. Control CV, paste as, that's not good. Paste as a number value. So that will not change from here on out. Let's go ahead and make these sortable or filterable. And the largest to smallest, Stillwicker Beast. Stillwicker Beast won. Congratulations, buddy. I'm actually really happy about that. Great individual. One of our officers, right? One of our leaders, one of our level 4 senior operation managers. So congratulations, Steelwicker Beast, for winning the Asgard plus Nova Tank lifetime insurance and digital copy of Star Citizen. So super awesome. Okay. Let's get into the lore deep dive. Are we good with that? The final lore deep dive of Invictus. We had some fun this last month. Thank you for being here along with the ride. This is the 4th installment of the lore deep dive. This will wrap up the entire Invictus launch week. I've heard good things about, reception of this. Everybody has enjoyed this. So here we go. This has been fun to do. I might consider doing this again for future events. But episode 4, Imperator Ivar Messer the First. He was forged in war, raised by victory, and crowned not by votes, but by fear, legacy, and calculated ambition. Welcome, traveler, to Beyond the Verse. In this final chapter of our Invictus Launch Week lore series, we trace the shadow cast by one man across centuries of human history. The name Messer is now infamous, but it all began with Ivar, the first Imperator. In the wake of the First Tavaran War, Ivar Messer was the face of victory. As High General, he had led humanity to triumph. As a war hero, he was beloved. And as a politician, he was lethal. The tribunal, weakened by indecision during wartime, stood no chance. In 2546, with sweeping public support, Messer maneuvered his way into the role of prime citizen, effectively dissolving the 3-seat leadership that had once defined the United Planets of Earth. But prime citizen was never the goal. Just 3 years later, in 2549, he did what no human had done before. He declared himself Imperator, and with that, the UPE was reborn or rebranded as the United Empire of Earth. The crowd cheered, the military obeyed, and the stars watched. At first, Messer's reign was efficient. Order was restored, infrastructure boomed. UEE expansion accelerated, but beneath the surface, a darker truth took hold. Free press began to vanish. Civil liberties ended or eroded, and surveillance and fear became the tools of the state. The Messer era would stretch across 10 generations of authoritarian rule, but it was Ivar who lit the match, and central to his propaganda machine was Invictus Launch Week. What began as a celebration of military readiness on Mars became something more. Each year, Invictus Launch Week reminded citizens of the might of the Navy. It stirred pride, but also obedience. It honored heroes, but also cloaked the rise of tyranny and pageantry. Still, despite being born in shadow, Invictus endured. Even long after the fall of the Messer regime of the 27th century, the week remained, evolving from a tool of control into a sincere celebration of service and sacrifice. Today, Invictus Launch Week is a chance to honor those who serve in the UEE Navy, to see the ships that defend our systems, and to remember that the stories behind these ceremonies are steeped in blood, power, rebellion, and resilience. Because Invictus isn't just about the fleet. It's about the people who stand in its shadow and the legacy they leave behind. The end. I really hope y'all enjoyed that. Always fun to write these. I enjoyed writing all 4. Kind of reminded me of my time writing RP stories for New World. So a lot of nostalgia there as well. But it was fun. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know how you liked the lore deep dives. If you want to see me do that going into next month's Alien Week and the first Contact Day, I would be happy to do so. But I would love to hear y'all's feedback. So let's wrap this thing up. All right. If you want to become part of the conversation, you can do so by emailing us at contact@beyondtheversehq.com. You can respond to the comments and polls section of the Spotify podcast, and we will read those at the top of every episode like we did today. Our philanthropy is still live and booming. We do Extra Life, and all the money goes towards Dell Children's Hospitals around the United States. And we just passed over $1,000, so we continue to raise money against a goal of $5,000. So if you want to do that, beyondtheversehq.com. There's the give link. Click on that. And again, it's straight pass through. Everything you send goes directly to Extra Life, which then goes directly to those in need, the children in need. So awesome. Quick little success story. I know we've said that we've LLC'd. We are officially a small business. Well, it finally became official as far as the IRS is confirmed. It's concerned. A couple of days ago, we got everything in the mail. We are now 100% official. So we are LLC. We are a small business. What that means for you is just more giveaways, more attention to the quality and product that we are delivering to you. So hopefully that is a good news for you as we get closer to starting my vision for what Beyond the Verse can be and what it will be. So exciting there. Other than that, become a hauler. So on YouTube, you can do, I think it's like $9 a month to support the podcast and what we're trying to do. But that also puts you into a monthly drawing to get ships. So this Invictus Launch week, we actually gave out 2 Grey Cat MTCs that went to Nickel and Tinker Jeebs. So congratulations to the 2 of you for winning. But you are entered into that. Plus you have direct access to me in our Discord, where you are my top priority to respond to before I do general responses to the rest of the Discord. So super exciting there. That's going to grow. We have some cool ideas on how to mature that process and those givings as well. But everybody, I hope this finds you well. Safe travels as you traverse Beyond the Verse. Take care, everybody.